Cool truckings. It was winter time, and a thick blanket of snow covered the island of Sodor. Madge, the snub-nosed truck, was making her deliveries. The icy roads were very slippy and very slidey, but Madge didn't slip and slide. She was safe and sure. One day, Thomas arrived at the transfer yards. He had to collect a large delivery of coal. Madge was there, and so was Mr. Percival. He was worried. He said Madge happily. Madge liked to be helpful. Said Mr. Percival, said Madge, and she raced away. Duncan was winched onto Madge's trailer. Duncan was very heavy, but Madge was sure she could pull him. She roared and revved, and slowly she pulled away. Madge drove carefully along the country roads. She was being safe and sure. Duncan started to tease her. Duncan laughed, said Madge. Puffed Duncan. Madge sighed. She didn't want to be teased any more. She turned up a narrow mountain road. Duncan chuffed. Laughed Madge. Madge was still going slowly. Puffed Duncan, said Madge. And Madge skidded her wheels. Her wheels made the snow spray up onto the side of the road. Cheered Duncan. So Madge skidded her wheels and sprayed snow all along the road. Duncan cheered as Madge sprayed the trees and then the bushes. She even sprayed a policeman, said Madge. They were having so much fun. They had forgotten all about getting to the transfer yards. Thomas and Mr. Percival were waiting at the transfer yards, and so were the coal cars. But Duncan wasn't there. Mr. Percival was worried. Now Madge took Duncan to the top of a hill. Duncan puffed, smiled Madge. Then they raced down the hill. Madge slid around corners and skidded over bumps. Duncan laughed. But halfway down the hill, there was a very sharp turn, and the road was very icy. Puffed Duncan, gasped Madge. She braked hard, but it was too late. Madge started to slip and spin round and around and around. They crashed through a snowbank, cried Duncan. They were hanging over the edge of the valley. Madge looked down over the edge. It was a long way down. Duncan moaned. Madge groaned. Madge rocked and teetered. Slowly, she revved her engine. Inch by inch, Madge reversed back onto the road again. Duncan chuffed. Madge set off for the transfer yards. But on the way, she saw another very bumpy and very slippery road. Duncan puffed excitedly, called Madge. So Madge drove on. Madge wanted to be safe and sure. She went all the way without slipping or sliding once. Duncan was disappointed, but he knew Madge was right. He had work to do. Soon Duncan was back on the rails. He shunted the freight cars quickly into place. The workmen transferred all the coal into Thomas's freight cars. Tooted Thomas. and he chuffed away. That evening, Madge went to visit Duncan. Madge pulled into the sheds. All the little engines were there. Duncan had told them all about his day out with Madge. Puffed Duncan, said Madge, and just for fun, Madge spun her wheels and sprayed some snow all over the little engines.